What's up, you guys? In today's video, I got a request from one of our fans. Yeah, and by the way, special shout out to all the fans. No, what are you doing? What are you doing? Those aren't the fans that I'm talking about. No, please fix that. So as I was saying, special shout out to all of our fans. Why are you showing mobile fans and ceiling fans? Sorry, guys, please. Thank you for your patience. No, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? No, stop. Stop. You know what? Let's just cut to the chase. You guys know what I'm saying. Today, I got a fan request from one of our fans asking us to do a problem on absolute value equations. This is part one. Thank you for your patience, and hopefully, we could get this sorted out. Please, director, whoever's in charge of this video editing, they need to be fired. Alright, absolute value is basically a number's distance from zero regardless of its sign. So for instance, here we have a number line where we can see -7 on the left side and 7 on the right side, and in between them we have 0. So as I said before, it's a number's distance from 0 regardless of its sign. So keep in mind, absolute value is always going to be positive. It will never be negative. So for instance, here we have -7 and 0. Going from -7 to 0 is going to equal 7 steps. It's not going to equal -7 steps, but rather 7 steps, because we're going from -7 to 0. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 till we get to 0. Likewise with 7, if we're going from 7 to 0, it's going to take us 7 steps as well, because the distance is what matters. You will never have a negative distance. You know, if I'm going from here to the store, I'm never going to drive -8 miles, if that makes sense. All right, you guys, let's start off with something easy. So here we have the absolute value of -2, the absolute value of 4 plus 2, and the absolute value of 8 divided by 4 times 4. So as you see, we're just working our way up in these levels. So the absolute value of -2, remember, we're just looking for the distance. It is from 0. So draw out your number line. We have 0, -2 is on the left side. So just counting the number of steps we take from -2 to 0, which is 1, 2. That's all it is. 2 steps. Easy. Now here we have 4 plus 2. So let's solve that out. Absolute value signs, 6. So now let's go to our number line. Just going from 6 to 0. That's all it takes. So going from 6 to 0 will be 6 steps. So we don't even need to use the number line anymore, because we know mentally that going from 6 to 0 is 6 steps. So that's how you save time on tests. But now if you do need to use a number line, please do so. Now we have 8 divided by 4 times 4. So let's solve that out algebraically. So 8 divided by 4, let's make some more space. So 8 divided by 4 is going to, man. So 8 divided by 4 is going to be 2 times 4 is going to be equal to 8. So from there, we know that the absolute value of 8 is equal to 8. Now, if this were a -8, all we know is that we're going from -8 to 0. So it'll still equal 8. All right, guys, so now what if they ask us to find the absolute value of x when it's equal to 7? So let's get started. So what you want to do here, all we're going to do is create 2 different problems. So we're going to have x is equal to 7. So we're going to pull that out. In the second problem, we're going to have x is equal to -7. X is equal to -7. Now, normally this would be probably more complex, but since there's nothing else with x, we're just going to leave it as is. So our 2 answers are 7 and -7. So how is this correct? Well, if we plug in 7 into the x, here we have our absolute value. So it's going to be 7. On the number line, we have our 0. We have 7. It's going to take 7 steps to go from 7 to 0. Also, -7. If we draw that out on the number line, going from -7 to 0 is 7 steps as well. That's why the absolute value of -7 and 7 will always equal 7, which brings us back to our answer right here. So our two answers are 7 and negative 7. Alright guys, so we've worked with the absolute value of x being equal to 7, but what if they put in negative 7? Truth be told, you don't do anything. In this type of situation, the answer would be no solution. Remember, distance is never negative. You will never have a negative distance. I'll never walk negative 10 miles to get from here to the gas station. So in something like this, where our right-hand side is negative, the answer would be no solution. Now, what if we don't have any negative right side? What if we have a negative x? So the absolute value of negative x is 7. So what do we do then? Well, here we actually have to solve. So we're gonna bring down our two equations. Our two sides of the equation, which is negative x is equal to 7, as well as negative x, but in this case it's equal to a negative 7. Because remember, we have two different types of equations. Now we're just gonna get x by itself. Solve it like a regular algebraic problem. X on this side would equal negative 7. X on this side would equal 7. So in this case, our two answers, just like the last, would be negative 7 and 7. So even negative x, the negative x absolute value of 7 is the same as just x absolute value of 7. So now we have x, the absolute value of x is equal to 8 plus 17. So what is the answer here? I'll give you a couple seconds, or you can pause the video. All right, so we have x is equal to 8 plus 17. And we have here x is equal to 8 plus 17. But remember, everything on this side now has to be negative. So on your second and third equation, remember, it's okay now to put the negative right here, as long as it's not in your first equation. So this right here would be x is equal to negative 8 minus 17. That will give us x is equal to a negative 25. Now on this side, we have 8 plus 17. What does that give you? X is equal to 25. So our two values, or I guess our two absolute values for this equation that could possibly work, are 25 and negative 25. And these are our two answers. All right, you guys, that is the end of today's video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Today we just talked about absolute value equations. And yeah, that's about it for today, y'all. Make sure you hit the thumbs up, like the videos, stay safe, God bless. Whoever's in charge of this video editing, they need to be fired. Thank you.